A little history about Paul. Paul has been described as a man rather small in size, bald-headed, bow-legged, with meeting eyebrows and a large red and somewhat hooked nose. Yet the power of the man was unmistakable. He was strongly built and full of grace. For at times he looked like a man and at times like an angel. Paul was a passionate man, fiercely loyal to his beliefs, yet not afraid to change his mind. It's a good thing he was flexible. Without him, Christianity might not have taken hold and grown into a church that would change the world as incredibly as it did. Paul was brought up as a strict Jew and believed wholeheartedly in Jewish teachings, having studied under the great Jewish teacher, Gamaliel I. He was a rabbi, but like many rabbis of the time, he backed up his preaching with ordinary work that provided an income. In Paul's case, it was tent making, still a thriving industry in first-century Palestine. Paul's upbringing as a Jewish Pharisee made him respected among the Jews and his Roman citizenship, likewise esteemed him among the Gentiles. The strangest thing is that though he was one of the founders of Christianity, he never met Jesus. In fact, when he first learned about Christian beliefs, he thought they were lies, heresy, and a dangerous threat to Jewish teachings and beliefs. This being so, he became an enthusiastic persecutor of the early Christians, hunting them down and imprisoning them. On a journey to the city of Damascus, Paul had an overwhelming experience, a vision, and became convinced that Jesus was raised from the dead and exalted as Lord in heaven, just as the early Christians had claimed. He knew suddenly that he should join the Christians and worship Jesus as his Lord. This he did immediately, with the same enthusiasm he had put into persecuting the Christians, changing from being their bitter enemy to complete and lifelong dedication to the Christian cause. Well, the reaction of the early Christians to this turnaround is not recorded, but it must have been extreme skepticism at first, if not outright disbelief. Paul threw himself wholeheartedly into this new life. He saw his vocation to be a missionary to people of every nation, to prepare them for God's coming. After spending time in solitude and prayer in Arabia, he took up residence in Damascus. There he made contact with the Christian community and lived for 3 years. Somehow he ran afoul of the governor there, who set a watch on the gates of Damascus to assure he would not leave. Paul escaped over the wall in a basket and made his way to Jerusalem. There he visited Peter and James, but the Jerusalem authorities regarded him as a renegade, and he did not stay long. He went to Antioch to assist Barnabas with his successful mission there. The converts included a large number of Gentiles, and this fact led to a serious crisis among the Christians. The early communities had at the heart of their religious observance a shared meal. But Jewish purity rules made Jews reluctant to eat with Gentiles. The question was, should the purity rules be maintained, or should they be discarded? This may seem trivial, but it was in fact a profound question. Were the early Christians going to remain a sect of Judaism, or were they going to create a new and universal religion? The issue was complicated by the fact that in Jerusalem, the Christian communities had to take great care not to offend the Jewish authorities, and it would be difficult, if not downright dangerous, for them to share meals with Gentile Christians. When Peter later visited Antioch, Paul insisted on disregarding this law that forbade Jews to eat with Gentiles. From Antioch, Paul began his series of 3 missionary journeys that took him to cities throughout Asia Minor and Greece. He maintained contact with the churches he established by means of letters that taught, corrected, and encouraged the emerging Christian communities. Paul made his last visit to Corinth in 57 AD, and then went to Jerusalem, where he was arrested and accused of bringing a Gentile into the inner courts of the temple where Gentiles were not allowed. He was arrested partly to save him from the mob and was taken to Caesarea as a Roman prisoner. He was kept there for 2 years by Roman Governor Felix in the hope that money would be offered to secure his release. After Felix was replaced by Caesar, Paul again appealed his case. Since he was a Roman citizen, he had legal rights that other Jewish-born Christians did not have. He was sent to Rome in 16 AD and was kept under house arrest for 2 years waiting his trial, during which time he continued to write letters to the Christian communities. There is no real certainty about how Paul died. It is commonly thought that he was beheaded, but the evidence is disputed. But it can be justly claimed that it was due to Paul, more than any other person, that Christianity grew from being a small offshoot of Judaism into a major world religion. Grace is the key word for Paul. He encounters pain and hardships, floggings and imprisonments, ridicule, persecution, and eventually death. Yet he knows it is all within God's plan. To Paul, to live is Christ, and to die is gain.